What's up, y'all? We back. We live for another News Tuesday, and today I'm going to be, just like every other Tuesday, I'm going to be sharing with you the news that affects us veterans most. Excuse a little bit of mess in the room. We got a baby on the way, so you see the boxes over here with the stroller and the crib and all that other good stuff. But let's get to it. Let's see. Yeah, so as you know, I'm Ryan Rowley, and I am the creator behind Simple Benefits. And what I do is on Tuesdays, I share news with y'all about what's affecting you veterans most, and also the channel. You can visit that. A lot of it's about VA claims news or how to navigate that process, the claims process, to maximize your claims. So first things first, the VA reverses course on massive layoffs. So here's what happened. The VA has significantly scaled back its original plan to cut 80,000 jobs. Thank goodness. Instead, it will reduce about 30,000 positions through a mix of attrition, retirements, and a hiring freeze. So these changes come after heavy scrutiny from Congress and veterans organizations. So this matters because critics feared such sweeping layoffs could undermine the VA's ability to deliver timely care, especially in areas like mental health, cancer treatment, and toxic exposure claims. VA leadership now claims productivity gains and modernization efforts, including the rollout of a new electronic health record system, will offset the staffing cuts. So watch out for and expect continued scrutiny from lawmakers and veteran groups. Internal VA morale is reportedly low, and many question whether reduced staffing can support the VA's rising patient load, especially as demand surges under the expanded PACT Act eligibility. And I'll be dropping a video soon on the expansion of the PACT Act because there's some very important details that could affect a lot of veterans' claims or eligibility for more conditions. All right, next up, donation eases veteran transportation in Michigan. So here's what happened. The nonprofit Tight Lines for Troops donated 5 grand to the Disabled American Veterans, which is DAV of the Salt City chapter's VAN program in Manistee, Michigan. This funding helps support services for 60 to 80 veterans each month, getting them to and from essential VA medical appointments. And this is great because transportation remains one of the top logistical barriers to care. So, especially for older or rural veterans without access to personal vehicles or public transit. So, this donation helps maintain a lifeline for veterans who rely on these vans to access everything from chemotherapy to mental health check ins. Programs like this illustrate the critical role of community and nonprofits supporting the VA's infrastructure gaps. Even modest donations can make a massive difference in daily health outcomes for underserved veterans. I think this is great and it makes a lot of sense. Shout out to Michigan for receiving that grant or giving that grant. Um, yeah, it's not like where I live right now, which is the DMV area, where you have the metro. If you don't have transportation, you can always ride that. And for us too, and you might want to look up in your areas, is that if you're 60% or more disabled, the metro will give you like massive discounts on tolls or basically transportation fees, which helps. So yeah, definitely look into that if you have metro in your area. All right, next up, a Marine passes away awaiting Camp Lejeune payout. So here's what happened. A retired Marine, Richard Corley, passed away from ifs- esopha- I have a hard time saying the word. Um, his basically his esophagus. He's got cancer in his esophagus, and basically he passed away after waiting more than 16 months for compensation under the Kent-Lejeune Justice Act. He was one of over 500,000 veterans and family members who have filed claims related to toxic water exposure at the base. Yet, fewer than 500 of those claims have been resolved as of July 2025. So, pretty big deal. So, Corley's case is um, emblematic of widespread frustration over delays in Camp Lejeune payouts. Despite bipartisan promises of swift justice, the backlog has grown and many terminally ill veterans are dying before seeing a cent. Lawmakers and veteran advocates continue to demand faster processing and transparency from the Navy JAG and DOJ offices. So watch out for the federal government, um, who is under mounting pressure to streamline the claims process. Legislative and legal reforms may follow if resolution rates don't improve soon. I think this is good pressure. I think, and hopefully, some positive results stem from this. Also, if you're watching, sound off in the chat where you're watching from. All right, next up, fireworks pose PTSD risk for veterans and pets. So this year's 4th of July celebrations caused significant distress for many veterans coping with PTSD as fireworks triggered combat-related flashbacks. Communities across the country reported incidents of veterans fleeing crowds or seeking emergency care due to stress responses. So this matters because while fireworks are a beloved American tradition, as we all know, they can unintentionally re-traumatize veterans and frighten service animals or pets trained to assist them. So mental health professionals recommend veterans take precautions such as noise canceling headphones, staying indoors, or even leaving town during fireworks during heavy weekends or heavy firework weekends. Some cities have begun piloting silent fireworks or issuing veteran specific warnings to promote awareness. Continued education and empathy can help bridge the gap between celebration and sensitivity for those who've served. I think, yeah, the silent fireworks, that's interesting. I can't wait to see what that looks like next year. Okay, so next up, the uh, Beaumont launches Veterans Coalition. So the city of Beaumont, Texas, officially launched a Veterans Coalition, a dedicated task force made up of city leaders, veteran service organizations, and veterans themselves. The goal is to directly address long-standing issues affecting the local veteran population, which is lack of affordable housing, inadequate mental health services, limited job training opportunities, and inconsistent access to reliable transportation. So, what sets this effort apart is its structure. Veterans are co chairing the coalition, not just sitting on the sidelines. So, this is like a grassroots veteran advocacy in action, which excites me. While federal and state programs tend to move slowly and often miss local nuance, city level leadership can pivot fast and make triggered impact or targeted impact. This coalition is unique because it puts veterans in charge of designing the solutions, not just receiving them. That shift in power dynamic is important. Veterans bring real world boots on the ground experience to the table, meaning they can identify practical gaps that policymakers might overlook. So, if successful, Beaumont's coalition could set a national precedent for local governments to take ownership of veteran care where federal programs fall short. Yeah, I'm excited about that. I think it'd be great if more veteran focused organizations came up too, because I mean, who understands our problems more than us? Next up, VA processed 2 million disability claims. I talked about this last week, and I'll briefly talk about it this week. The VA has processed over 2 million disability claims in fiscal year 2025, setting a new record for the most claims handled in a single year. Now, this historic surge is accredited to several factors: enhanced digital systems, targeted funding from the PACT Act rollout, improved automation in processing certain claims, and a pivot away from previously planned mass layoffs in claims processing departments. So this shows what happens when the VA is resourced and held accountable. Now, historically, veterans have faced wait times that stretch months. I'm sure you all can relate, sometimes years, for basic claims decisions. Processing 2 million claims in 1 year sends a strong message. The system can be efficient, but speed alone isn't the finish line. Veterans groups have raised concerns that fast processing doesn't always mean accurate processing. So, reports of missed secondary conditions, overlooked presumptives, and rush denials are still common. So, while this is a major win in terms of volume, it underscores the importance of appeal support, nexus letters, and third party audits to ensure that quantity doesn't replace quality. So, yeah, keep that in mind, folks, and always stick to the basics, especially what we teach at the Vet Rating Guide. Make sure you check that out at simplevetbenefits.com if you need some claims help or just want to build on your knowledge with the claims process. All right, so next up, the VA budget tops 400 billion in fiscal year 2025. So for the first time in its 94-year history, the VA's budget has exceeded 400 billion. That's up more than 31.7 billion from fiscal year 2024. And this massive increase includes specific allocations for disability compensation and PACT Act related care, staffing support, modernization of the electronic health record system, and expanded mental health and self-harm prevention services. So this isn't just a line item, it's a test of trust. So veterans have long argued that the VA is underfunded and overpromised. I mean, I know I have. This budget boost delivers historic funding, especially for veterans exposed to toxic substances like burn pits, jet fuel, and contaminated water at bases like Camp Lejeune. The question now is, will the VA actually deliver measurable results? Watchdogs and veteran advocates are already monitoring how these funds are being distributed. Will they improve claim accuracy? Will they shorten wait times? Will the VA finally close its tech gaps and still plague appointment scheduling and record access? If this money is well managed, it could be a turning point. If not, it'll be just another bloated budget with little impact. All right, next up, VA doctors can now discuss medical marijuana. So the new VA budget includes a crucial update. VA doctors in states where medical cannabis is legal can now discuss and recommend it as a treatment option. While the VA still can't directly prescribe cannabis due to federal restrictions, this shift allows more open, judgment free conversations between veterans and their VA providers about using cannabis to manage chronic pain, PTSD, insomnia, and anxiety. For years, veterans have turned to medical marijuana for relief, often without support from the very doctors they trust most. This change helps reduce the stigma surrounding cannabis use in veteran care and empowers veterans and providers to give better informed guidance. It's a key step toward integrative medicine inside the VA system, even if federal law hasn't caught up yet. For veterans dealing with the side effects of opioids or ineffective treatments, this opens the door to safer, more holistic options and shows the system is slowly responding to what veterans have been asking for. So keep in mind, this doesn't mean you can walk into a VA clinic and get a cannabis prescription, but it does mean your doctor can finally talk to you about it without fear of penalty, something that was previously off limits. Yeah, I'm sure quite a few veterans can relate. I mean, yeah, it's kind of weird. You're basically living a double life with, with your VA doctor. I mean, I'm sure not having to beat around the bush anymore is going to help. And next up, the Major Richard Starr Act is reintroduced. So concurrent pay is in sight. So the Major Richard Starr Act of 20 or 21 HR 2102 has been reintroduced in Congress. If passed, this legislation would allow retired veterans with combat related injuries to receive both retirement pay and VA disability compensation without offsetting one for the other. Currently, many disabled veterans see a portion of their retirement pay withheld because they're also receiving VA disability, what's known as the VA offset or concurrent receipt gap. This is about fairness, plain and simple. Right now, over 50,000 combat disabled retirees are penalized for injuries they sustained in service, losing out on money they earned in both retirement and disability. This Major Richard Starr Act would fix that, named after a highly decorated veteran who died of cancer related to service connected exposures. This bill is a powerful symbol of how policy can honor sacrifice. Advocacy groups like DAV, VFW, and MOAA are all backing this bill, and veterans are being encouraged to call their lawmakers if passed. This, if passed, this act could put thousands of due LLARs back in the pockets of some of our most severely injured veterans, restoring the financial security they deserve. It's been introduced multiple times, but never fully passed. So pressure from the veteran community is key to pushing it over the finish line this time. So yeah, I think this is a huge deal because yeah, I mean, you want to be able to double dip. Like they're basically cutting out on pay just because you're afforded both. And that's not cool, So I hope this does get passed. Um, Make sure you research ways that you can also pitch in and add more pressure to get this bill passed. But as always, that was News Tuesday. That's all I have for y'all today. Um, Make sure you stay informed with other news sources. Comment what stood out to you most, any insight you have, and also any other news that I didn't mention. Yeah, let me know and I'll cover it in the next News Tuesday. But as always, this is Ryan Rowley from Simple Vet Benefits. Visit simplevetbenefits.com. I have some great information on there for y'all, especially regarding VA claims and some other resources. Make sure you do that. And as always, have a great week.